If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
Into the silo.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It is the 27th of April, 2016, and you know what that means. It means Clint's going to be late, as always. He's on his way. For those of you who merely listen to the show just for Clint, and amazingly, there are some people out there that do, he will be here shortly. And he will join me. Thank you for coming anyways. Like I said, I know it's just me. I know. I hear it. I know how some of the people out there, oh, it's Clint. Yeah. Yeah. I get it. But he's not here. So you could do one of two things. You could turn it off until he gets here. That would be nice. I can understand how that would happen. Or you could just deal with me and my nasally Boston accent. And frankly, I don't care. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I care. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're with us. Thank you so much for the exceptional one, as always, for warming it up and really being the headliner. And then we're like the closing act. That's the, it's a situation and it's a way of life I've gotten used to is, Ken's the headliner. And that's fine. Already in the chat room, Clint supporters. Clint has a great voice. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. He does have a great voice until you have to listen to it all the time. And I mean all the time. I have a lot of things to talk about this evening, a lot of strange stories out there, a lot of fun stories, and, a lot of crap, just because that's what's going on in the world right now. I do want to throw this out. I just found out today. There's a new network out there called the Internet's Conservative Radio Network. I didn't just find this out today. I kind of did, but a long story. ICRN to be short. And they're going to be carrying the Sackheads Radio Show at 5 o'clock on Sundays for the replay. And we appreciate them giving us love here at the Sackheads Show. It's always nice when another network deems your show good enough to put on theirs. And, I say this all the time, and I've said this in the past. I say this to a lot of people. The fact that anybody turns this show on and listens to us is humbling, and we don't overlook that at all. And when there's actually another network out there that's willing to carry us for free, and
SHR?
Oh, look who showed up! Oh, hey, he found the place. I guess the GPS does work sometimes. We're humbled by that. So thank you so much to the Conservative Radio Network for carrying the Sackheads. Much appreciated. And we look forward to a great partnership. And Ron over there is trying to do some great things, and we greatly appreciate that as well. You probably heard his nose come through the door 5 minutes before he did. But Sackhead Clint is in the studio with his 15 bags of Burger King. And he's just going to settle in here. Just like typical with Clint. It's his schedule. When he gets around to it, then he'll do it. And today's no exception. 8:06 p.m.
Hang on, I got the fat kid song.
I haven't. Ooh, I got a pie. So that makes up for everything. Actually, we're all good here in the studio. Everyone's in love again, and there's no problem whatsoever. He brought me pie.
I also have another announcement to make.
Yes,
There is a brand new Dunkin' Donuts
I-
getting ready to open
dude,
up
Paradise
right down the
is.
street from
Paradise is
the studio.
literally 3.5 blocks.
Literally.
I walked it twice today. just to make
Literally.
sure.
And no, and you
Literally.
timed it because you were
wanna see if I
sending
can
me
do it on
text
breaks.
messages. Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I love the jersey.
Thank you.
It's green. They
It is.
misspelled athletics across the front, or Oakland, either one. But anyways, the color is great. So
My St. Patrick's Day Red Sox shirt.
it's an Oakland jersey.
Yeah, whatever.
Did you have me muted that whole time?
Yes.
That was kind of rude. I'm not gonna lie. Right now.
How are you, my friend? Thank you for joining us.
This is the first time I've sat down since 7 o'clock this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you drove here standing up?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
I rode a motorcycle, so was that really sitting? I guess straddling. I've astride. I've ridden astride something within the last little bit.
I was just telling the good folks out there how I was about to, unfortunately, you walked in. That the
Unfortunately, I walked in. Is that what you just said?
yeah, that we had a bunch of storms in the area, so that delayed your arrival. Air traffic gets screwed up, obviously.
It did. So I left my last location. It doesn't. You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You want some cheery news?
I do.
All right, I'm going to give you cheery news.
Give me cheery news.
Because it couldn't happen to a better person, in my humble opinion.
Hang on a second. This is what my day's like. What? That's been. Hang on. Okay.
All right, you good now?
Now I'm good. Now all is right with the world.
For those people who doubt that this is really a conservative talk show,
Hey, did you know it is impossible to suck start a .40 caliber pistol?
you can, but you can only do it once.
Right. I researched this a lot.
Horrible. No. So, I'm on my way to the studio today, and Jersey Joe, Revert Common Sense, and I are rapping a little bit over the phone.
Like Kid and Play type rapping?
Yeah, hip hop hooray.
Okay.
And he says to me, "Did you hear the good news?" I said, "Good news." He was like, "Yeah, one of John McCain's big campaigner or fundraiser has been arrested in a drug bust." And obviously, we've interviewed one of his opponents, Alexander Molosky, who's when we were out in Vegas, who's still running. And I thought it was a really
He's still
good guy.
running. That race was over a long time ago, but whatever.
And I said, really? So I looked it up. A Phoenix woman has been dropped as a political fundraiser for John McCain re-election campaign after being arrested on suspicion of drug possession and other charges. This from NBC News. Maricopa County Sheriff's official said Emily Pitha, it was a real Pitha, and her live-in boyfriend were taken into custody Tuesday after deputies searched a search warrant on her North Central Phoenix home. North Central, wouldn't that just be north?
Or would it be central?
Well, because you have northeast and northwest, right?
How do you have north central?
How do you have north central? That's
Would that
weird.
be north?
Yeah. Because
Right?
if you're in the northern part of something right in the middle, you're just in the north.
Right.
So-
So unless you draw like a map, and if you're in the northern part of that center, but that's still north.
Oh, this is making
Right?
my head hurt.
Could you be in the north-south?
According to this, you probably could
Or
be.
the south-north?
Based on this locale,
Uh-huh.
and maybe in Phoenix you can be in the south-north. I don't know. Undercover detectives and U.S. postal inspectors
What?
raided the home because it came via mail. After
What?
a delivery of a package containing more than 250 grams of ecstasy. Detectives also reported finding methamphetamines, LSD, heroin, cocaine, an active methamphetamine lab, and about $7,000 in counterfeit cash.
Hang on, you lost me at postal inspector. So do they wear like the postal uniforms and then like a badge?
I don't know.
On that with like the big keychain and the horrible shorts and like the safari hat?
I hope they wear the safari hat.
What's with the safari hat? Seriously.
Keeps the sun off of them.
A safari hat?
Yes.
Have you ever seen one wear one of those in the snow?
No, but I want to see it with netting on it, like mosquito netting.
Yes. A safari hat.
So, anywho, Pitha and her boyfriend, Hoosterlid. What a horrible last name.
Who's
not
going to be going to jail very soon?
Each being held on $20,000 bond for drug charges and child endangerment. 2 children lived in the home, a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old, but they were not home at the time of the arrest. McCain's campaign manager, one Ryan O'Daniel, said in a statement Wednesday that the campaign had terminated any relationship with Pitha. Pitha was working as a consultant, arranging fundraisers for McCain. She also has worked for the Arizona Republicans, and her LinkedIn profile noting previously she worked for Senator Jeff Flake and former Senator John Keel. So, happy news in the world of politics.
Wow. Wow. So, we are going to soon, hopefully, be officially launching a new line of T-shirts.
Really?
Yes, we talked about this.
Okay.
Remember?
Sure.
Last week, Pangea.
Pangea.
We're going to launch the Pangean line.
The Pangean line.
Right. We're going to have Pangea.
Remind everyone what Pangea is.
So,
Because it's kind of a random... until we say Pangea a lot, people aren't going to necessarily get it.
but that's the beauty of this shirt, right?
Okay.
Or of this line of shirts. So Pangea was the last supercontinent. There were several supercontinents throughout history, if you believe in this kind of stuff. I don't know how the hell they know that. I wasn't around, but it's a geological era or a geological thing they consider supercontinents. And it broke up. Pangea was the last one, and it broke up into what you see today, like a big puzzle, right? North
Guy with
America.
a big nose yakking at me in a microphone?
No,
That's
you
what I
can't-
see today.
Listen, you can't see over those nipple rings and that hairy chest and the big belly sticking out, okay? So
Nipple
just
rings.
simmer down over there, Boston.
Wrong brother.
That's actually true. That's actually true. I meant taint piercing. So for you.
I love him to death, though.
So Pangea, you just caught that.
Yes.
So when Pangea broke apart, it broke up apart into the continents now. But originally we were all one supercontinent, one major landmass.
Right.
Which, if you think about it, really means we're all one race.
We are all one race.
Right, which means we didn't steal any land from the American Indians because it was ours first. We just wanted it back, and they didn't want to give it
And
to
they
us.
stole it from us, right?
Right, so they just occupied it. Kind of like Occupy. Just because you occupy something doesn't mean it's yours.
Right, other than that,
Other
Times
than that,
Square
how much hate mail are we going to get
Wall
for that,
Street.
first of all? Right?
Wall Street would be a whole bunch of hippies running it, right? Oh, wait.
Right. Oh,
It
yeah,
was.
never mind. Never mind. No, so anyway, so Pangea, so we're gonna along that theme because we are all one race.
They know they
Right.
go for it, the little
We're
red
all
devils.
Pangean.
Oh, they might. They love
We're all
these sort of
Pangean.
things.
I actually filled out a race form this week, and
Did
I
you do
put
Pangean?
Pangean.
Oh, I love it.
did.
I love it.
I checked other, and I wrote Pangean. So we're gonna do a shirt like Pangean Lives Matter, right? What?
So picture the supercontinent in the middle,
Right.
and
With all the other continents like drawn out, so you can kind of see where it came from. It broke apart, and Pangean Lives Matter, and we're gonna do like Kiss Me, I'm Pangean.
kiss me up, Pangean. So here's the deal, and actually Jersey Joe has been all over T-shirts lately, and I don't know if he can make this work out because he's got a site that he's been using. If he can get a picture of Pangea put on it and do Pangean Lives Matter, That would be awesome. The continents broke up during the Great
Pangean
Flood.
Power.
Pangean Power.
We might start a new club called the Pangean Panthers.
Pangean Panthers. Pangean Bloods. Why
Look,
not?
We could go
Why
on
not?
forever. This is beautiful.
Hell's Pangeans.
Right. Does anybody see the beauty in this besides us?
By the end of the night, and Jersey Joe says we can pull it off.
I think we can.
He's the man with.
I want to. Who would buy these?
Who wouldn't buy those? We also have to do a couple bumper stickers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kiss me, I'm Pangean. Pangean and proud. Pangean pride.
Pangean lowriders.
Hey, and the flag, the flag, it's not rainbow colored because we're all Pangean.
We're all one people.
Right, and I would say it's all white, but that would not be accurate because that's France's national flag.
Right.
So it could all be like gray.
Just boring as hell.
Just gray.
Just like, but the most dull color of
Right.
gray that you could possibly find.
Yes.
Pangean. I want that T-shirt now.
I know, right?
The Pangeans People's Front. We could have Save Pangea rallies.
Yes.
I think that's one of those things.
Not Save Pangea because it's already broken apart.
No. That's even better. Hear me out.
Free Pangea.
And I could even say this over the air right now. And I bet you money that if we marketed a Pangeans People rally to free Pangea,
I guarantee people would show up.
Absolutely.
Because they'd think it was Palestine.
Right. Oh, it's just another name for Palestine. We could do that all over social media. And as long as you get one libtard to sign on.
And you would.
Absolutely you would. Oh, we got to save them. Oh, we got to go quick. We would have, there'd be so many dreadlocks.
Pangean pride.
Right? There would be so many
Vote Pangean.
dreadlock Birkenstop, no shower, no deodorants, hanging around. Free Pangean signs. We get some signs
Dude.
made up.
We could do a T-shirt with like an EEO form, like a race form, right? And big check mark other Pangean.
You know what? I am almost positive that it's pretty easy to get a permit at the California State Capitol. I know there's a process you have to go through for an organized rally.
You'd have to check the website.
But no, I have done it before. I've checked the website before, and they're very accommodating. And I think that we may have to have a Pangean rally. I'm just saying. Because we're really celebrating all of us, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're excluding zero.
Oh, no, absolutely.
It is the most inclusive rally that you could possibly have.
Yes.
And then
Ever.
we do the show live from the middle of it.
There'd be 3 people.
Remember Pangea when the continents were cuddling. Dan came up with that one. I love that one. Hold on now. I got to start writing these down. Pangea. Continents cuddling. But think about it. You have all these movements out there, right? Black
Right.
Lives Movement, blah, 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 blah,
Bowel
blah, blah,
movements.
blah. Bowel movements. You're right. The KKK still does stuff.
Yep.
If you could have the Pangean movement. I used to be in a band called Pangea, but we broke up.
We broke up.
Dad, butcher. I'm writing all these down now. Dan, you get 5% of each sale of that shirt. What are your Pangea shirt suggestions? Send it to us on Facebook. Tweet them at Sackheads. Oh, I think that would be the best tour ever, right? You have the band Europe, the band Asia, the band America, and Pangea would be like all of them playing together.
Yes. Problem is, there's no band North America or Antarctica.
Well, that doesn't matter. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
A band called Pangea. I love that. Oh, we need to get to work on this one. This might be the idea of the century. We could have a yearly Pangean rally.
Okay.
We could just make this grow and grow and grow. I mean, you think about this.
I have.
How
Hence
obviously.
the T-shirt idea.
I used to be in a band called Pangea. I keep reading it and I keep laughing. Oh, man.
I used to be married to a Pangean.
But you broke up. Oh, you know what our national anthem could be? Come Together from the Beatles. What a good rallying cry. Ah, two good things to lead off the top of the show. I'm really happy about that, actually. Let's move on. Because
I don't want to.
I know. But you know as well as I do. We'll beat the horse into the ground. Unfortunately, we'll lose listeners before the horse is dead. Oh, now Peter's going to be after us. Anyhow.
You do it one time.
You turn one horse into glue and they get all pissy. Oh. Did you hear about Michelle Obama's new lunch rules?
No.
You know how Michelle Obama's like all of a sudden in charge of our dietary essentials in schools somehow?
Yeah, why wouldn't she be?
What? Was she even elected? Like, how does she get nominated into that?
Yes.
Do we have a review committee? Did the Senate have to confirm her?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
But I want to go back to this whole PETA thing.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I'd stick to the script I had done.
Yeah.
Let's do PETA for a little
No,
bit.
we're going to do PETA for a second. We get your script here in a little bit, Mr. Sassy Pants. So, these animal rights groups, they're bragging because they broke SeaWorld, right? Their orca program's done. They're going to be phasing it out. And
Yeah.
they think they're all uppity now.
Yeah, destroyed jobs and all this other stuff.
Right. Ashley Bryn.
An organization that did a lot of saving injured animals.
So Ashley Bryn, she's a campaign specialist for PETA. She said, quote, I think the tide is turning against SeaWorld and other, get ready for it. Ready for it? Ready for it, parents? And other aquariums and zoos.
All of them are going down.
I think it's a sign of what to come.
Yeah.
Society's at it. Hang on, there's another quote here.
No.
From Joel Manby, who's the SeaWorld Entertainment CEO. He says, society's attitude toward these very, very large, majestic animals under human care has shifted for a variety of reasons. Blah, blah, blah. But what the animal rights activists are calling for is they believe all animals, including your dog or cat, should have the same rights as people and be free.
Yes.
Therefore, they shouldn't be in human care under any circumstances.
Set them all loose.
Under any circumstances.
Roving packs of dogs on the street. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to the comedian Bill Burr did this whole skit on why are we cutting balls off dogs. And, you have
mean
to...
besides the sadistic standpoint? Or?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, it's to save the environment. You have to keep the population under control. Blah. And he's like, who's that for us to decide? Right? So what? If there are packs of roving dogs running down the street, it takes care of our obesity epidemic, right? Because only the quick ones will survive.
Yeah.
And whip us back into shape. I love this theory by some of these wackos in PETA that animals are equal to us all the way around.
Well, let's think this through logically, Sean.
And don't get me wrong, I've been outsmarted by my dogs.
Right. But let's think this through logically. Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal, correct?
Yes.
That they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights and on, right?
Right.
When they say that, do they mean men only or do they mean women as well?
Apparently.
Hang on a second. They mean women as well.
Did you wait? Did you want my answer or
no,
not?
I didn't. That was it was hypothetical.
Because I had an answer that may have been slightly different.
It was rhetorical.
Oh.
When they said men,
My bees.
it applies to women too, right?
Of course it does.
Okay, of course it does. And men and women are part of the animal kingdom.
Of course we
So
are.
because men and women are part of the animal kingdom, clearly the term men also refers to other animals because women are in fact other animals.
Oh,
Otherwise it would just be men, right?
no.
Now,
Why?
a negative.
Why are you going
hang
down
on a
this road
second.
right now?
Another negative term for women is the same as a female dog.
Oh gosh.
Therefore, tying
I'm sorry.
a human being to
Oh.
what we traditionally consider an animal, and there's your proof link right there. So really, the term "all men are created equal" refers to everything in the animal kingdom because we really can't separate ourselves that much, and so therefore, I completely see their argument.
I don't even want to.
You know what's scary is PETA? That's like gold to PETA.
Oh yeah, you just
PETA's like Sackheads Radio.
My
Even a conservative thinks that this is true.
My favorite part is your voice going to be looping on this website repeatedly. Just
On PETA's.
repeatedly. Just he made the argument for us.
That was brilliant.
Man, that guy's a conservative hippie.
Sackhead Clint, will you come argue in front of the Supreme Court for us? We want this guy to free his dog.
As I'm literally sitting there with my dog. Yeah, I don't think so.
Right. Okay.
Mary brought up a great point in the chat room. She goes, I can see the animals turning around and attacking Peter. Pets have it all cushy. Why would they want to go out and work on the street? I agree.
Right.
My dog...
Would your dog survive? Does
No.
your dog have any street cred?
Well, no. Lola does.
Lola does.
Right.
But
Kona,
does Kona?
no. Big
No.
goof. Big goof.
Yes.
The only time he's
He's
ever...
like Baloo.
He is. The only time he's ever caught an animal, it was a rabbit.
And
then
it was
he
a
didn't-
stuffed animal.
And he didn't know what to do with it. No, he didn't. He had no killer instinct.
He snuggled it.
That's exactly what he did.
Yes.
He held it and put his neck down on it. He didn't know what else to do with it and eventually let it go. Thing died of a heart attack 18 seconds later. But he didn't do it on purpose.
Right.
Domestic animals are not made to be wild. They don't have the DNA to be wild. Look at married men.
Not a good comparison.
Okay.
Hang on. Big Fat Polly.
Big Fat Polly. You all of a sudden start releasing cows into the wilderness.
Why do you say cows after I bring up Big Fat Polly?
Pigs. Chickens.
Sheep.
Sheep. Bad.
Ball.
You? Do I look like a sheep? Except you release all these animals. We're not going to have all of a sudden this majestic way of life where animals are running free in the street and the moose are running down the street, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to have ridiculous overpopulation of some of these animals. Other animals are going to disappear rather quickly because I don't know if you know this, but pigs taste friggin' amazing.
Yes, they do.
And the wild boar are prepared to fight.
Yes, they are.
Domesticated pig are prepared to sleep and eat.
That's why one you have to kill with either a gun or a knife.
Right. And
then the wild boar you kill with something else.
right, the wild boar you hit with a car.
Right.
No, Mary, you're 100% right. It would be absolute chaos. It would be absolute chaos.
I think it would be beautiful. Man and beast living together in harmony like the Garden of Eden. It would smell like, it would be just beautiful. It'd be like the book of Genesis.
I just picture like...
I picture Sean, because animals would be illegal to eat, like staring at all this buffet of goodness, still alive, and Sean just like shaking.
Well, no, I'd go to jail. I wouldn't last a minute.
Right.
All right, guys, Everyone's going to be vegan. The eating of other meats is now outlawed. Bang! Son of a... Got a chicken! Go to jail? Can I bring the chicken with me?
I'd be like, really? You shot a chicken?
You seen how quick
You
they
couldn't
are?
just say pig?
You see
So
how-
they were like, cow? You shoot a chicken?
No, I hunt chicken. It's amazing.
No, you choke chicken. There's a difference, Sean.
Have you ever seen a wild chicken? They come in these squared off pens. They're really, all you have to do is sneak around the guy's house, and they're right there. It's easy.
Right.
Oh, this is ridiculous. We're up against a break. When we come back, we're probably going to talk about, so far, one of the bigger announcements in the race is for the White House, right here on the Sackheads Radio Show live in the SHR Media Network. Back in a minute.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always...
Hey, welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show. It works a lot better when the mute button's off. Damn it, where's Sacco?
And that was gold, too. I don't think you could make another point like that again if you tried.
Emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kyle was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com and HighPlainsDailyNews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back here on the Sackheads Radio Show live in the SHR Media Network, home of the Reunite Pangea Foundation. Just think about that for a minute. Let that sink in. Whoop. So, interesting news today. And I wasn't expecting this. I don't know if you were expecting this. Ted Cruz comes out and names Carly Fiorina as his running mate.
I wasn't surprised.
And I said right away, anybody who picks Carly, I think picks for a smart reason. I think she's viable. I think she's. We've said right along. I think she'd be a good VP candidate. I think my theory on this, with Trump hurting with females right now over some of the comments that he's made. However, you could say some of them were out of context, some of them were inappropriate. It doesn't matter. His numbers with women right now are hurting.
I think he's had plenty of women. Like, I don't think his numbers are that bad.
And Ted,
wait, what are we talking about?
Ted Cruz is trying to pick up some steam and make up some votes before the convention. And how better to do it than to get a strong female? And I think personally she's a strong female candidate to be your number two. And when you start polling now, I've said before, I think Carly can do a lot of damage to Hillary Clinton that other candidates can, just because she's a woman. And not only is she a woman, but she's a woman who's actually been there, done it. She's run it. She's been the CEO, a lot of other things, and she's very, very intelligent. I know there's some concerns with her about security, et cetera, et cetera. But I think this is a very smart move by Ted Cruz, politically speaking. I think when you are going down the home stretch, as we kind of are just starting to get to now, as far as rolling into the general here real soon, you had to make this choice. You had to go out and listen, Ted Cruz, he's not numerically eliminated yet.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he'll nail it now.
But he had to do something. He had to kind of throw his Hail Mary, and I really think Mary happened to be Carly. Your thoughts?
I actually like the Cruz Fiorina ticket. So I haven't really been decided before. Don't know that I'm decided now. But I really like Carly Fiorina. I liked her when she was running. We've said it on the show before. I think I even said on the show, I know I've said it to you in conversation. Pretty sure I said it on the show also, where I think she would make a great vice presidential running mate. I've been called crazy for having that thought. Everybody think it'd be one of the other guys or whatever. So I think Ted Cruz, I think, yes, it is an act of desperation, but I also think that it was a brilliant move. And that if it's a brokered convention, I think with a Cruz Fiorina ticket, I think that he could get it with that. And I think Cruz Fiorina would be a hell of a ticket. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I understand Trump has the momentum right now, and he does. And there are a lot of things I like about Trump, and there are things I don't like about Trump, just like any of the candidates.
Right.
But I'm really excited about Fiorina.
I think it's a brilliant move, man.
Yeah, I really do. I think it's a very brilliant move, and Cruz Fiorina ticket is one I could get behind. Chris Christie is all over the background while Trump was speaking, and we've talked about Trump and Christie before. I could see a Trump Christie ticket. Would I be more excited about a Trump Christie ticket or a Cruz Fiorina ticket?
Right.
I'd be more excited about a Cruz Fiorina ticket. That doesn't mean I wouldn't back a Trump a Trump
not first choice
Christie ticket or a Trump anything ticket, because if he was the nominee, then yeah, I'd back him. And even though I may be more excited about a Cruz Fiorina ticket, I think that if Trump gets the nominee, I don't think that I don't like the idea of the brokered convention. I don't. And I really believe, I don't know that Trump is this way, but I really believe that he would run third party and just take the party down. Whereas if Trump got the nomination, I don't know that anybody in the race would run third party. I don't. Or because really there'd be nobody running third party, they'd be running Republican. And if Romney's that big of a douchebag, then I've got some choice words for him.
Well, he is that big of a douchebag.
Yeah.
I don't mean as a person, but as a politician. Well, let's look at the numbers real quick. So you have Trump right now sitting at 987. You have Ted Cruz at 562. Ted Cruz is essentially eliminated from getting the 1237 before the convention. However, he certainly has the ability still, if he makes some runs here, to keep Trump from getting the 1237 and securing the convention. Last round was the Northeast, kind of Trump's home. And
Dude, he just swept 5 states.
yeah, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, Connecticut on the 26th. And before that on the 19th was New York, 95 delegates. Kasich got 4. I mean, Cruz had 3 in Rhode Island. Kasich had 5 in Rhode Island. Trump is still the man to, like I said, he's not, Cruz can't beat him outright. But he can keep him from securing the nomination and pushing it to a convention. Now, when we get to the convention, anything can happen. You read back and forth, blah, 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 blah. They're going to do it. They're not going to do it. My biggest fear is that we go to the convention.
That we go to the convention? I think that'd be great.
That the convention happens. It's a broker convention. And it's going to be Kasich. And I hate to say it, but nothing would shock me more.
I don't know. Okay, I'm about to make a lot of listeners angry. I don't know that I'd vote for Kasich.
I don't know if I could.
The guy
either.
won 1 state.
I don't know if I could either.
I really don't know that I could.
And you could see.
I wouldn't vote for Hillary, but I might vote third party.
I might vote for you before I vote for Kasich.
Yeah, I hope you'd vote for me before you vote for anybody.
Might vote for you before I vote for Kasich.
You're talking about, I'd nail this whole presidency thing. I'd be like, press conference. Yeah, look, I'm not afraid of talking to you people, and by you people, I mean Pangeans. That's a shirt. That's a shirt.
I mean you people, Pangeans.
When I say you people, I mean you people. And then on the back, Pangeans.
You people.
When I say you people, I mean that in a racial way. And then on the back, Pangeans.
I mean it racially.
I mean it racially.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. What was I saying? Because that was beautiful.
Oh,
yeah, nailing the whole presidency thing.
It's very...
Look, honestly, Cruz getting it on a brokered convention kind of scares me. Because I think I hope not, but I think Trump hates Cruz so much at this point that I think he'd run just so he wouldn't get president and country be damned. And that's wrong. Whoever does it, that's wrong if Trump does it, that's wrong if Cruz does it, Romney, whoever.
Right.
That's wrong.
Right, I agree.
That's wrong. Whoever the nominee is, back the nominee. If it's Kasich and you don't want to vote for him because he won like nothing, then hey, way to celebrate mediocrity. You know what? If Kasich gets it, every progressive and liberal in the world should vote for him.
Oh yeah,
right?
Because it's the ultimate dream.
Right. Because it's redistribution of votes.
Yes, and that's my biggest thing is if we go into this convention and it is brokered and we come out with a Kasich Romney ticket or something ridiculous as that. And unfortunately, I don't think it's an impossible feat at this point. I want it to not be true. I want to believe that the GOP will actually do the right thing, but I can't. I cannot believe it. Somebody said that Cruz was quoted as saying that anyone who is mathematically eliminated should drop out. And I believe he did say that. I don't have the quote directly in front of me. But nobody's mathematically secured it yet is going to be their argument. Whether that's a fair argument or not, Trump hasn't got to the 1237. Now listen, we have coming up in May, Indiana, Nebraska, West Virginia, Oregon, and Washington. And then in June, California is the big one. Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, and South Dakota. Now, I am going to go out on a limb here and say that Trump is going to do well in California.
Listen, so here's what folks... If you go out on a limb, it has to be a very large limb. Very, very stable. just because of your size. So when Sean says I'm going to go out on a limb here, that's like saying he's going to walk on a concrete deck built on the first
you ever
story
see one of those
somewhere.
gigantic trees that grow at the side of a cliff?
Right.
That's pretty much it.
That's the limb he's going on.
Well, and because everyone says, well, California, Trump, blah, 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 how, California's not a conservative state. Exactly. Trump isn't necessarily a traditional conservative.
Doesn't mean the four of us here don't get to vote for a primary.
But Trump's not your traditional quote unquote conservative, right? He's not the evangelical, he's not the party guy, et cetera, et cetera. And I think in California, you get a lot of people who are angry about the border. I think in California, you get a lot of people who are angry about taxation, conservatives. And
without representation, because they're not represented here.
At all. And in California, it will be only Republicans voting in this primary. It'll actually be a conservative turnout for once.
Right.
As conservative as California could possibly be.
Right.
So I really think that you're going to see Trump grab a lot of those 172 because I think California winner take all? I don't think so. I don't believe California is winner take all. Somebody can look it up and correct me if I'm wrong. And that's a big number right there. So Cruz really has to start bowling through all these other primaries that are left through June to keep him from hitting that 1237. Northern California is going Cruz per Ken McClinton. Ken, I live in Northern California, and I see a lot of conservatives in Northern California are facing a very, very different fight than the rest of the conservative world. It's very much government's out to get me for a reason, because a lot of conservatives out here live in rural areas. The rural areas are outside the city. The state capital does not listen to them whatsoever. They feel ignored. They get nailed with taxes. California, especially if they're at all successful in life, if they make more than $50,000 a year, they get fisted. Like I said, the border's a big issue out here. Immigration's a big issue out here. It's also the state where the San Bernardino attacks happened. Mm-hmm. And that's going to resonate throughout the state during this election.
And not just San Bernardino, but
UC Merced
as
well.
There's another terror attack. Knife attack doesn't get a lot of play, and feds are really downplaying the terror connection.
But it very much happened.
But, yeah. And there's information on a lot of news articles out there. This guy had ISIS links and traffics
all
and everything
over
else. So.
Yeah. So, I think that's going to play in people's heads out here, and I think you're going to see California, if it is winner take all, you're going to see 172 for Trump. And I see a lot more Trump signs in my day-to-day running around than I do anyone else, and people I work with and talk to and here and there.
So I think California is awarded winner take all and by congressional district.
Right.
Right.
So you could see 172.
So if he wins California and Indiana and does well in the other races, he'll probably get it.
It's done. So it's a big possibility unless Cruz makes a big push. Now, here's the other thing, is you don't hear much from the GOP out here in California. You really don't. They just had their convention this past weekend. I believe Trump showed up. At least he was scheduled to. But more importantly, traditional Republicans have forgotten about the state of California. You look at the senatorial race, right? You have Kamala Harris, who's going to be running. Who's the Republican running against her? I'll give you $500 right now if you could tell me without Googling it, Clint.
I don't know.
Exactly. They put no money into the state.
No.
They do nothing
to
push in this state. And unfortunately, with the recent Kasich-Cruz alliance to oust Trump, a lot of people in the state started looking at Ted Cruz as an establishment guy now, that he's changed into an establishment guy. Now, we could talk about his constitutional opinions, and I agree that they're very positive. Ken? I thought Kamala was a WWE wrestler. He was in the 70s, actually. We could talk about some of the plans that Cruz has put forward. And listen, Ted Cruz is a smart guy. I believe that. I have some issues with how he's run his campaign this time around. I have some issues with Ted Cruz, just like you said earlier. Do I think Ted Cruz would be the end-all, be-all of this country if he got chosen? No. With Carly Fiorina, do I think that he could probably beat Hillary Clinton? Yes, I really believe that.
I do too.
So,
and that's why in a contested convention, I think Cruz would get it.
Right,
I really
believe
do.
So too. Now he has a big hill to climb, but I can also say a lot of good things about Trump and what he's. Like I said, my biggest complaint about Trump is he doesn't think enough before he speaks, and I think people in general want a commander in chief who's going to take a moment to breathe and think, even when the chips are down and you have to make a decision. It's not putting the decision off forever like this president does.
Right.
It's not kicking the can down the road nonstop.
Kick his can down the stinking road.
But it's making.
Sorry, I got fired up.
It's making a decision now. Do I like what he's saying about taking care of America first? Absolutely. Do I like how he's his foreign policy of pretty much screw the bad guys? Absolutely. Do I think he'd be good for the economy? Yes. There's a lot of good things that I think Donald Trump could bring to the White House. And as a conservative right now, or as a Republican, however you want to call it, unless you were a complete Trump hater because you just don't like Donald Trump, it's not a bad spot to be in. Because what you're getting out of these two candidates, and no matter who the nominee is, you're going to know both sides of them up and down, inside and out because of this. Now, it's not great for the party, per se, because it makes the party look like fools. But you have to remember, on the other side of the ticket, you have Hillary Clinton at 2164, Bernie's at 1355, and Bernie's been doing some damage the last month and a half. He's really, really come out. But the biggest difference is superdelegates. He's not going to win the superdelegates. There's no way it's going to happen. He's mathematically done. And it's going to be Hillary unless she ends up in an orange jumpsuit. So I think if you're the Republicans, you start looking, and as a voter, you start looking at who could beat Hillary Clinton. Really beat Hillary Clinton.
Sackhead Clinton.
You know, and you look.
Why do you laugh?
And you look a lot across at Cruz and Fiorina. It's a great ticket, and I think it could actually be a winner. Dan Butcher was fortunate enough to post the short list of VP candidates for Trump. Chris Christie. I don't have a lot of good things to say about Chris Christie as a presidential candidate. I thought early on as a governor he did pretty well, but he was great as an AG. And he does that pretty well, that sort of work. Nikki Haley, Governor Haley, obviously that would be an immense boost to Trump. Susanna Martinez, Scott Brown, Herman Cain.
You really think Nikki Haley would run with Trump?
Yes.
You do?
Yes. I think Nikki Haley would do it to be able to serve the country. I think she's that type of person. Even if she has her personal differences with Trump, I think if he called her, she would do it to serve the country. I think she's a very principled gal. Obviously very intelligent, a great governor, very smart, and I think she would do it. I really do. And then Marsha Blackburn and Herman Cain. Herman Cain's the other one, I think, is the other one that raised a lot of eyebrows because, this is brilliant. Oh, this is brilliant. Thank you, Jersey Joe. As soon as we get back from the break, I'm going to cover this. Oh, you're the man. But I think Herman Cain, who, I don't know if you remember what a snow job the media did to Herman Cain because they were really afraid of him. Herman Cain would actually be a good choice for Trump as well. So you start looking at all the possibilities, but either way, the GOP is kind of coming out in front, right? I don't think Bernie's going to go away until he's forced to go away at the very, very end. And he's going to start doing the damage against Hillary. And now you're going to have Carly doing damage against Hillary. And then you have other emails. There was another email release from the State Department about Benghazi. I think we're going to talk about that later, et cetera, et cetera. So the potential to have a very winnable race, no matter who the candidate is possible. I know they talk about polls, and Clinton edges out Trump in a lot of polls, but there are other polls where it's the other way around, that Trump's edging out Cruz. Polls are cute, but people don't go in and pull that handle the same way they say they're going to, because you get that last-minute decision, right? You get a lot of feel-good voters. Hey, it'd feel really good to go in and vote for this guy or this gal, and then they get in there like, yeah, but what's this person really going to do? I'm going to go with the safe bet. And it changes a lot, and they're skewed depending on where the polls are taken. So I believe that Cruz Fiorina could actually beat Hillary. And like I said, I like Carly Fiorina. I also, depending on who the running mate is for Trump,
you don't think it'll be Chris Christie? I mean, you've thrown off a lot of great names. Some of them would be really good. Some of them wouldn't.
And
but
I
look,
don't think Chris
Trump,
Christie would be bad politically.
But look, Trump is so... yeah, but here I have an issue with him in a second. But Trump is so disliked, I think, by the establishment. Do you really think he could get a solid establishment Republican running mate?
Yes. Because the establishment will still want their hooks in them a little bit.
Yes and no, right? Because I think you have douchebags like Romney that would say, well, I think we just run somebody else, too. And run him as an independent or run him as an alternate Republican or something like that. You know what? I have zero faith in the Republican Party.
I agree.
And I could see them trying some BS like that. I could completely see that.
Reince Priebus is a little weasel.
Yes.
And he wants the power.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying that. So I think maybe to squeeze them out, to send a message to anybody else who may dare try this, I could see them withholding a decent running mate. I really could. Here's the thing with Chris Christie and Trump, a Trump Christie ticket that causes me concern. They're both very harsh. And while Trump can get away with it, and Christie's gotten away with it to a point, but it caught up with him a little bit in New Jersey with the bridge, right, and here and there. But I think Trump needs a running mate that is a little bit more polished, that can go out and campaign that, right? Kind of like Paul Ryan did. So that's my concern with a Trump Christie ticket. I think you need a little bit of sweetness. So for Cruz to scoop up Fiorina was masterful and desperate, but masterful. And I'm very interested to see who Trump's running mate would be. Like you brought up, like I said, I don't see a firm, committed establishment Republican unless the establishment really turns around and pulls their head out of their collective. You know what's. I could see them just kind of letting them sink.
Well, gosh, way to really depress me. You suck at this. But they're all kind of too close to tell right now. And listen, my only thing about a Chris Christie Donald Trump ticket is, I think people, when it comes to Chris Christie, I think people feel like Chris Christie's the type of guy they could talk to.
Not everybody. Some people just think he's a jerk.
I disagree.
Some people think he's a jerk.
Yeah, but I don't think that's as widespread.
But you're from back there.
Yeah,
so
and that's exactly
so
it.
for you.
But I don't feel like I'd have anything to sit down and talk to Trump about. I really don't. We could talk politics and stuff, but outside of that, he and I lead very, very different lives.
Right, but you know what? I would sit down with Trump and I would pick his brain on.
Right, I could force a conversation with Trump.
See, I wouldn't even force a conversation. The guy made so much money and did it in private. I would sit down and I would pick his brain and I would be like, "So, sir, when you fund SHR." You see, I just disproved your point right there.
Yeah, I still wouldn't be able to. I'd be looking at his hair the whole time. Do you remember Austin Powers with the mole?
Yes.
That would be me with the stick.
You know what I'd do? I'd pull off my shirt and I'd be like, so who has better hair, your head or my chest?
And that's I'd
be like, you know what the difference is? My chest doesn't have a comb over.
We're up against a break. We come back. We
Sean's
got more
back.
news of
Show
the
him,
week,
Sean.
including North Korea. Always a rubbery topic here on the Sackheads Radio Show. Back in a minute.
What they do now? Sink a fishing vessel?
Their own.
Was it
a media done right? You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kyle was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com and HighPlainsDailyNews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a weird kind of week internationally. So you had the North Koreans successfully launch a submarine-based missile. It didn't go far, but it launched, which they have not been able to do to this point that we know of. They're also prepping another nuclear test. All indicators are pointing to that anyways. And then you have them saying, essentially, the president kind of tough-talked them, or the State Department kind of tough-talked them a little bit, essentially saying, well, if you guys aren't going to go along with the program and we're going to have these sanctions, and there are other ways that we could go about this. And essentially, to me, sounds like they're saying, we'll bomb your facilities if you don't cut the shit. Which, for this president, is pretty tough. But I also think that tells you how much more serious the situation is.
So for this president to draw a red line, and once he draws a red line, you know... What? Look, until a stinking airplane flies open and the doors open and more than like a Pez dispenser comes out of the bottom of it, I put zero stock in anything this president says regarding foreign policy.
That'd be
and
the
tough
most
talk.
food dropped in North Korea in years.
Well, yeah, right. That's what I meant. Seriously.
Oh, man. Listener Jack on the last subject says that Trump should pick Jesse Ventura as his VP. Well, yeah, if you're trying to get away from loud. And Jesse's kind of got off the rails and gone crazy the last few years, too. So I don't know if I'd be down for that. But, yeah, so with North Korea, now they're... Oh, wow, God, what was the other insane quote? I have the notes here somewhere. Was it a rain of fire that they would drop on America, or rain down fire, I believe, is the latest statement that North Korea said would happen to America if we started pushing the issue. I would just like to submit for a split second. Let's say North Korea is successful with miniaturizing a nuclear weapon. And there are some out there who are saying they have. There are some out there who've said that they've been able to miniaturize it and not to put it on one of their Dong missiles. Taedongs.
One of their what?
Taedongs. Dong missiles.
Right.
So
they put this mini nuke on the end of this dong, right?
And I don't know if there's two. I don't know if they have more than one dong. They could have a double dong. I don't know.
Or I think that may only be in the launcher. They could have two dongs in one tube.
I haven't said it all night, and somebody just called me on it.
What?
SHRmedia.com. Click in the live chat if you want to jump into the chat room with the other listeners.
If they're calling you out on it on chat, then they're already there. Quit your whining.
No,
Go on,
it wasn't
Sean.
on chat.
Oh, dang it. Never mind. Forget that. I apologize for being a jerk.
But go on.
No, I was asking about the two dongs in one orifice or tube or whatever those launchers are.
So anyhow.
What?
There are some experts.
What?
I actually thought you were going to add something creative and constructive to the conversation for a minute.
That was creative. And very constructive.
Very much so.
Thank you.
All right. So if they are able to miniaturize, and let's say they can't get a missile to the West Coast or Alaska.
I'm sorry, Sean. I have to add something that has zero value to this conversation.
Miniaturized and dong all in the same sentence.
And referring to North Koreans. It was too perfect. It was too perfect. Okay, go.
Oh, we have a winner. The Pangean Lives Matter shirt, Pangean,
thank you,
has been officially completed by our good friend Jersey Joe.
Jersey like a shirt. I see what you did there.
Wow.
Thank you.
And we can get them in baseball jerseys, I believe. So
perfect.
That's awesome. This shirt is outstanding. I'm actually going to share this everywhere now. As soon as I know it's available for free. I mean, for sale.
For free.
But let's argue that they did actually find a way to miniaturize it, which experts have said. Let's also argue that even though their long-range capabilities may not be where they want it to be, their medium-sized range capabilities are certainly formidable. They may only have one or two that could do it, but when you're talking about nuclear weapons, it may only be one or two that's actually needed. Kim Jong-un is just throwing a fit again because McDonald's took the McRib away again. Well, it doesn't matter why the guy with the nuclear weapons is pissed. It's just a matter of keeping him in check. So what's our approach as a nation? And listen, the beginning of the tough talk is great, but we saw it with Syria. And we also, out of Syria, and I wanted to talk to this too, there's reports that Syria was up to shenanigans with ISIS, so I want to talk about that in a little bit.
Let's stay on North Korea because I want to talk about this Master Chef competition that Little Kim had.
Right to the important shit.
Right?
This is what I love about. This is why I love talking to you.
What?
The hell with nukes.
Right.
There was a Magic Chef tournament on North Korean television.
Right. Think about this. His people are starving. And what's he going to show them? How to prepare delicious food that they don't have. What a jerk.
All this does is summarize what an idiot Riddle Kim is. And
yes.
We know Riddle Kim's an idiot.
Yes, there are 27 million people surviving on food rations in that country.
Oh, dear Rita, people have no food.
So this show.
How about a cooking competition?
It was broadcast on state TV.
Are you listening to me, dear Rita?
Wow.
A cooking competition it is. I am brilliant. My father says so.
Yeah.
But here's my problem with this.
What?
This is the guy who potentially has a friggin' nuclear weapon.
Yes. So more than 1,000 people were in the competition. Pyongyang, how do you pronounce that? Pyongyang Times.
Wow.
Yeah. They reported, the Times from that
city. I was congratulating you for saying that.
Thank you. Reported, quote, the festival was comprised of the exhibitions of gastrological hits, famous and local special dishes, and compulsory dishes, and the technical contest and demonstration of top chefs and waiters and waitresses. First of all, even in a communist country, you have compulsory dishes. If nobody picked up on that.
Very true.
Yeah. The TV menu did include some European dining options as well, pizza, spaghetti, and broccoli 5 ways.
Broccoli fried rice?
Broccoli fried rice. Our people are on rations. Let's have a cooking show. And they make compulsory dishes.
Dear Rita, you want compulsory dishes? Yes.
We are communist.
What other dishes would we have? I don't know.
You know what he looks like?
Meager dishes, maybe?
He looks like an Asian version of the king from Looney Tunes. Where's my Hoss and Pfeffer?
Hoss and Pfeffer. Well, and I was just saying this. So you look at him, and this tells you what a lunatic he is. His entire nation, including everybody in his staff, is extremely thin and looks like they haven't had anything more than a Pop-Tart in the last 6 months. Except for him. He makes me look like a health nut.
Right.
And this guy potentially has a miniaturized nuclear weapon. And as I said, their long-range capabilities may not be all that feasible, but their short and medium-range capabilities are pretty questionable. But here's the thing that I hear nobody talking about. One of the bigger dangers, obviously, the nuclear blast in itself is pretty horrific. But one of the other dangers is the fallout, right? The cloud from the nuclear weapon.
Right. Yeah, in the area that would affect. But here's the thing, and I think that there are several climate change scientists that would agree with me on this. If that's detonated, the sheer force and what happens, and if you look at it from a chemical reaction standpoint, you look at it from a nuclear standpoint, from a scientific standpoint, I mean, for physics and so forth, you realize that would actually reverse the trend of global warming and set or climate change and set us back on path towards a normal, natural climate.
Okay.
So if you look at it and you look at the science, and the science clear. I mean, it's undisputed. It's clear on this that we let Little Kim get these nukes so that we can reverse the horrible, horrible things that we as mankind have done to this planet.
You keep tweeting Bernie Sanders. I have another point I wanted to make.
How did you know I was quoting?
You start looking at, he doesn't have to reach America. The fallout would be great. World War II, one of the things the Japanese did, and a lot of people don't know this, is the balloon bombs. They actually had bombs that they put up into the atmosphere knowing the way that the winds would carry them.
To the U.S.
Exactly.
Yep.
And a few of them actually went off. They just went off in the middle of nowhere and turned into forest fires, believe it or not. They were incendiary bombs more than like TNT style
They
bombs.
don't realize that our houses are not made out of rice paper and wood.
How, that being said, you now look
No,
at
that
a
was a
country.
true statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You now look at a country who has World War II mentality, if you will, when it comes to military operations, but a potential nuclear weapon with fallout.
In a balloon.
Well, I don't think it's going to be in a balloon. But what I'm saying is, if they can get this to a landmass somewhere in the Pacific and cause a detonation above ground, and then you start looking at the fallout getting caught in the breeze, we could be affected by that.
We could, but look, you have Japan now who's developing their offensive fighter. Their military, the restrictions have been released, and they're going to be building up their military to have offensive capability instead of just defensive posture. Right? So all those World War II restrictions are being lifted from Japan. And I think that's being done maybe so that Japan will end up engaging in the war and we won't. I don't know. But they are developing that new strike fighter and whatnot. So I think that, look, we're not the only ones that have to worry about North Korea.
Absolutely
South
not.
Korea is obviously worried about it. Look, when China and Russia tell you you're batshit crazy,
you got a lot going on.
You got a lot going on.
You got more issues than Reader's Digest.
So, while I think North Korea is interesting to talk about, and look, don't get me wrong, it absolutely can serve as a powder keg and go off. And I hope the powder keg goes off in North Korea and takes Little Kim with them. But I'm not as worried about North Korea and them actually launching a nuke as I am about Iran actually launching a nuke at Israel or perhaps the Great Satan, us here in the U.S. I'm not quite as worried about that as I am also about Russia and what's going on in Europe and how we combat that. And I think the Obama administration has put us on such a horrible path from a foreign policy standpoint. I mean, you look at what happened with the Middle East because of decisions that he and his administration have made. It completely destabilized the region. Mm-hmm. It is a direct result of Obama's actions and his policy and what he has and his administration has supported in that region that has allowed ISIS to grow to what it is. So I'm more worried about those other things than I am North Korea at this point.
Okay. I'm just saying that I hate to say that the leaders of Iran are smarter than North Korea, in the sense that they may say they're willing to destroy themselves, and they very well might.
Oh, I think they would.
I don't disagree with that statement.
They wear suicide vests.
I understand that.
I'm pretty sure they could do one big suicide vest for the nation.
But Kim Jong-un is also a guy that believes he was born on top of a mountain. His father played the hole-in-one shit, all that stuff.
Right.
And he may actually believe that he's invincible.
Until you park a couple bombs through his front door like we did to Gaddafi.
Right. But he still might think he's invincible. Gaddafi knew he was human. I don't know if Kim Jong-un actually believes that he is a human being.
You find out.
That's a very good point.
Right? Look, I have an idea. SeaWorld's getting rid of the Orca program.
We could bring Kim Jong-un into
Kim
it.
Jong swim? Like, I think we can work some stuff out.
Oh, man. Another good story that kind of crossed over the last week, and it isn't getting a lot of play. Weird, right? Yeah, this one I got on a Newsweek, but it's been in a couple other places. Did you know that ISIS had a multi-million-dollar deal with the Assad regime? Let me just rephrase that. ISIS, the people that he's allegedly trying to fight and get rid of from his country.
And Putin.
Had a multi-million-dollar deal in oil with the Islamic State. Just let that sit into your brain for a little bit. Oh, and by the way, you remember Syria. You brought them up earlier. The Red
Right.
Line.
Yeah.
Bashar Assad, like a destabilized region, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. U.S. Special Forces raid on an ISIS oil minister known by the nom de guerre, Abu Saif.
Huh?
Yeah. In 2015, saw the extraction of thousands of documents implicating his oil operation with that of the Assad regime, according to Newsweek, with review from the sale of oil to Damascus, helping the group reach the peak of $40 million a month in oil revenue. This was uncovered by U.S. Special Forces in a raid against the ISIS oil chief. So this is confirmed by our own people, folks. Saif led the group's oil ministry known as the Diwan of Natural Resources and used the deals with the Assyrian regime to boost the division's income, contributing 72% of the $289.5 million the group earned in natural resource revenue in 6 months in 2015. The document, identified as Memo Number 156, dated from the 11 February 2015, from the trove of documents, shows that the Tunisian national requested the assistance of an unknown person on how to build investment links and businessmen allied to the Assad regime. So you have Bashar al-Assad, a monster. We all know he's a monster. Anyone out there who thinks, like Nancy Pelosi, that he's just a misunderstood nice guy.
I thought you were going to say anybody who thinks like Nancy Pelosi is a monster.
Fruitcake. Absolute fruitcake.
Right.
You're Looney Tunes if you think that Bashar al-Assad is just a misunderstood world leader. No. He's a monster who gasses his own people. He claims that this war, part of this war, has been the rebellion trying to overthrow him. Why? Because he gasses his own people. Listen, we overthrew a king over taxation. Boston Massacre and some other things, but it was over taxation. A just cause, don't get me wrong. But now we're talking about a leader who's gassing his own folks, and that caused a rebellion, and rightfully so. Then you have the ISIS, the rise of ISIS, which was birthed out of the Arab Spring. Egypt, everything else that we destabilized over there.
Libya.
Iraq by pulling out too early.
Iran. Well, Iran was
so
already.
far away.
Iran was already, yeah.
Etc. You have the rise of ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
Assad claims ISIS was the threat, and Putin claimed it, and they go in there and they start going after ISIS. We're bombing ISIS. They won't bomb with us. We won't bomb with them for some strange and bizarre reason.
Because we're bombing two different groups.
Exactly. They're strictly bombing ISIS. I think...
We're strictly bombing ISIS.
We're strictly bombing ISIS.
They're bombing whoever.
They're bombing the rebellion.
Right.
I think we said, and check the tapes about a year ago, I'm almost positive that we said this, that Assad had a deal with ISIS already completed. And maybe I didn't say it, maybe you didn't say it. I thought one of us had said this, that, hey, we'll give you the western half of the country, Raqqa, that whole area that you're already operating in. You leave us our power alone. We'll have the Russians come in, make it look pretty. Make it look like we're really trying to get rid of you guys. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
We'll kill a couple of you.
Won't even do that. I don't think they've done that yet.
Right, maybe.
All their missiles keep falling into unfortunate locations close to the rebels. And let bygones be bygones. Because at the end of the day, hey, you're a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. We don't need to kill each other. We know who the great Satan is.
Right.
Russia's just our friend with the big gun. And we have to do business with them. And that's what you have now. And this document, I think, sums that up greatly. ISIS and Assad have been working together. We've known this now for some time. The documents were uncovered, I want to say a couple months ago. But we had suspected a long time ago that something like this was happening. And yet, the red lines keep getting crossed, and we're not doing anything about it. Oh, we added another 150 bodies into Syria to help fight ISIS. allegedly. It might be against the Assad regime. We're arming rebels. We're assisting in the rebels. We're overseeing the rebels. Haven't done much for the Turks for some damn reason. But we're there. Oh, by the way, 250 more into Iraq, because is that the opposite of a drawdown when you keep adding shit?
Yes.
Like if you're going to draw something down.
Wait, is this a trick question?
I just want you to clarify. I'm not a military expert.
No, so look, so it's still a drawdown.
Okay.
Okay, but you're not really adding, you're just replacing.
Okay, so instead
So
of
if you're replacing, it's not a drawdown because you just don't replace as many as were there originally, and therefore the net would be a drawdown.
Okay, so they're running out the clock, but yet they're still going for a touchdown.
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
So,
makes perfect sense.
Makes perfectly good sense in Obama's head. My question is, when it comes to this administration and foreign politics, not to you, to our listeners, I just want you to think about this. When it comes to foreign politics, international affairs, when you look at Hillary Clinton waiting in the wings as a potential president, and you could say all you want, until she's convicted, she's potentially the next president as well as Trump and Cruz. Hillary Clinton knew what was going on over there. She was very much a part of what was happening in Syria. She was very much a part of the destabilization of the region. When I ask if you could possibly believe anything this administration says when it comes to the Middle East, answer yourself honestly. The red line. What happened with the red line? Nothing. You look at how we dealt with Crimea, right?
We didn't.
We didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't deal with it. Now, all of a sudden, 6 months later, or a year later, rather, we're starting to throw in all this military force because we're like, oh, shit, Putin's on the move. Which, by the way, we called 2.5 years ago.
Yes, we did.
2.5, 3 years ago,
yes,
we called that on this show.
Most people need to listen to us more.
Everyone thought we were crazy. You know how many emails I got from people telling us we were insane?
Yes.
We hit the reset button.
I was there, remember?
Yeah, I know. You were emailing me.
Sean, what are these crazy people talking about? We're not crazy. They're clearly crazy.
Clint, that's us. Oh, I thought they sounded smart. But we called that.
Yes,
with the
we
Russians.
did.
We knew it was coming.
We've called a lot of stuff, by the way.
And now we're building up on the Russian border, and we have F-22s.
We're building up in Europe.
Like crazy right now.
Yeah.
We're making little... Every week there's a little bit of a push, but if you look at the totality, it's been going on for about 8-9 weeks now that they've... Longer, 14 weeks. They're really starting to push up. We have F-22s in England all of a sudden. We have major cavalry and artillery on the ground all over Latvia now.
Wait, did you say we have cavalry?
Yeah.
You know the picture I just got?
Bugs Bunny.
Cavalry. We have major cavalry. Like I got like a bunch of dudes on horses. I don't know if that works anymore,
F-Troop.
guys. Yes.
F-Troop. Yes. Great show. Brilliant show.
Guys, I don't know if this is going to work anymore. We're on horses. They have tanks.
But yet we're still doing nothing serious when it comes to the Middle East, where Russia has their hands in again.
Right. Right. What have you heard? Have you heard anything more about the Russians messing with? No. John Kerry said, oh, we could have shot them.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't. If we did like Turkey did... Look, does Russia screw with Turkey anymore?
Well, and I want to talk to you.
Do they?
No.
No.
When we come back, I want to talk to you about a couple of instances in which we did kind of fight back and what happened.
That's a long time ago, though, right?
Yeah, it's a much different leader. All that and more here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello. I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying half of the stupid brother.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reverb Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show. Last 30 minutes here on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. So, before we went to break, we were talking about Russia. And we were talking about North Korea and Iran and how all of a sudden we're tough talking North Korea.
Somebody.
Well, some country that needs tough talk. I'm drunk. And we're not really doing much with Russia. Now, we've had a lot of incidents that have completely escalated between the Russians and ourselves over the last couple years.
Right.
And it only gets worse and worse and worse as time goes on.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. Wow. Sometimes you just I can't even begin to talk to it. It's amazing. Amazing.
Tell me it's not brilliant.
It's accurate, but
Thank
it
you.
doesn't matter. Right now, it doesn't matter until 25 minutes from now. And then we'll talk about it off the air. So, we're not saying a lot verbally against the Russians, but we are massing, as I said in the last segment. And we've had incidents in the past with Russia. Many and other aggressors. Let me say that first. Other aggressors, not just Russia. There was an incident out of Libya, I believe, in 1989, where 2 floggers were sent up because they said that area around their borders was territorial and nobody could fly there. And we said, the hell with you. We put a carrier in there to protect shipping. And as we were on patrol, in the area. They set up 2 floggers.
Not the kind used for punishment.
No, 23s.
Yeah,
23s.
the aircraft.
And at the time, we had 2 F-14s on patrol. Our F-14s diverted 5 separate times to show that they were not actively trying to engage. And the Libyans pursued and eventually were shot out of the sky. And we've had other incidents with Iranians at the time. You remember Gaddafi getting the early morning wake-up call, if you will, courtesy of some
A6 intruders. Yep.
As well as some other incidents. Even with the Russians, we haven't always been kid gloves with them. It was always, back to Checkpoint Charlie, it was always, after World War II, it was a game of cat and mouse, a little bit of chess. After things went bad with Checkpoint Charlie and the Russians did exactly what Patton warned everyone the Russians were going to do, we put tanks up, they put tanks up on the border between the Germanys. I want to say goodnight to the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, who's going to bed.
Good night, Ken. Thought about you a couple minutes ago.
And we've always had this pattern with the Russians. But one of the things that Patton said, and I want to remind everybody that Vladimir Putin is an old-school commie.
He was a KGB.
He was a KGB agent.
Yep.
He is as old-school communism as you get.
Yep.
He was brutal back in the day.
He was a cold warrior.
He was a absolute cold warrior. And Patton had some really interesting words about Russia, and he knew the Russians. He studied them. He understood them. He met with them several times during the war.
Didn't like them.
Did not like them. But one of the things that he said about Russia is, quote, Russia knows what she wants, world domination, and she is laying her plan accordingly. We, on the other hand, and England and France to a lesser extent, don't know what we want. We get less than nothing as a result. If we have to fight them, now is the time. From now on, we will get weaker and they will get stronger. Let's keep our boots polished, our bayonets sharpened, and present a picture of force and strength to the Russians. This is the only language that they understand and respect. If we fail to do this, then I would like to say that we have had a victory over the Germans and have disarmed them, but we have lost the war. At the time, everyone said Patton was crazy.
Yep.
They removed him, and essentially were trying to make him just kind of go away and fade into the night until a car accident happened and he perished. But what he said about the Russians was true. And after the fall of communism in Russia, yes, Russia became very weak. And then Russia discovered it had natural gas. The only reason Russia was weak after the fall is because they had no money. They didn't have the money to be strong. But now they have natural gas, and they start exporting weapons. The other thing that happened after the fall of communism, for those who don't remember, they weren't allowed to import and export stuff most of the time when they were under the Red Curtain.
Yep.
Their arms, they essentially had to do backroom deals to sell it. Now they can sell openly on the market. They've done it to Iran. We saw when we went into Iraq the first time that there was Russian equipment, and French equipment, even though they were under sanctions. But now the Russians are doing it openly. Look at the air defense system being sold to Iran.
Yep.
Look at the deals they're cutting with China. Look at the gas they've discovered. Look at the oil they discovered. And what are they doing now that they have the ability to start building up their military and throwing their weight around? They are doing it. As we predicted on this show 3 years ago, I'll say that a million times because we were friggin' right. The invasion of Crimea. Let me rephrase that. Putin tested the waters with the country of Georgia a couple years ago. 8, 9, 10 years ago now.
Yeah, he wasn't president, I think. He was the
minister.
Minister, yep.
It was the other Russian there, Vodka McVodkason.
Smirnoff McVodka.
Smirnoff McVodka. Boris McSmirnoff.
Smirnoff Popov McVodka. And his cousin Chekhov.
Chekhov. Awesome. But one of the things that happened is The international community didn't do much. Georgia fought back. The Russians kind of creamed them a little bit on their home court because Georgia didn't have a strong military either. And Georgia ended up giving up, I want to say it was like 3 or 4 miles of their border back to Russia. The international community wagged their fingers. This was bad. But even President Bush at the time, well, we're trying to regulate. Because at the time, Putin and Yeltsin, it wasn't Yeltsin, it was one of the other Borises.
The one from Bullwinkle.
Yes. We're trying to portray this image of
Natasha.
That's his wife.
I
It's
know.
Natasha.
Where does that come from?
They were trying to portray
Useless
this
knowledge.
image of being good international people. And then they tested with Georgia. And we all said, they've been okay lately. This was like a weird moment between...
It's not our Georgia,
It was a former satellite state and them. They kind of got into it. We'll let the bygones be
That's
bygones.
their Georgia, not ours. We're good.
And they kind of went away. And then they did something interesting. They've built their military up slowly. Over the last 15 years. Or 8, 10 years. I'm sorry. Let me get my facts straight. Yeah, 8 to 10 years. And they started to build up slowly. They started making these deals for money with China, selling arms off to certain people, et cetera, et cetera. And then they started growing and growing and growing. And then 2 years ago, you had the invasion of Crimea, a sovereign state of the Ukraine. They said it was to protect ethnic Russians who were being mistreated in the region.
Mm-hmm.
It was questionable at best. But what did Crimea actually have? A warm water port.
Yeah.
Militarily, what?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Right.
Which the Russians need.
Right. They needed a warm water port. And the Ukrainians did everything they could to stop it. They scuttled some ships to block it, whatever, but it wasn't enough.
Yep.
So they secured their warm water port, and then we go down to Syria. All of a sudden, there's a base in Syria the Russians like to use. And then Syria comes under attack from the rebels, and Russia kind of stays out of it a little bit, but let's face it. They were advising, they were giving money, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, the quote-unquote rebels really started to get out of control. Bashar al-Assad has gassed his people, et cetera. The Russians come in, we know the story. The Cubans come in.
The Iranians come in.
The Iranians come in. That should tell you something about who they're doing deals with. Cuba, still a communist country.
Yeah.
The Russians invite them to Syria. Iran, batshit crazy. The Russians invite them to Syria. Why? Because they're all in bed together. For a reason. Because it's about strength and power. And Putin believes that if he gets his way with all these other countries, he's going to be the head of the axis of evil, so to speak. He's going to be the person sitting at the head calling the shots.
Of course he is.
And he's going to be.
He's going to be.
He is that superpower on that side.
Yes.
We are,
and I would argue if this continues, he will be the number one superpower in the world. He would surpass the United States. Look, how did we've talked about it before on the show. How did we win the Cold War? It was through energy.
Right.
We defeated them through energy.
Right.
We had superior energy production. They had garbage.
Garbage.
That's how we
changed.
That's changed. That's
they have energy now.
They have energy now, and we're not allowing for ours to be explored.
Right.
We are voluntarily putting ourselves on the opposite end of that spectrum. They're exploring everything. What in the Antarctic? What they planted a flag in the stinking ocean floor, right? And then they have how many ships? We have to build new icebreakers just to even try and compete with the natural resources that the Russians and the Chinese are trying to exploit in the north. I mean, come on, the Russians are doing it right.
Right.
And we're not. Oh, we can't build the pipeline. Oh, we can't exploit our natural. We're going to make another national park. Give me a break. So yeah, Putin is doing it right. He learned from his original Cold War that they lost from his mistakes, and he's making the right moves from his perspective. So at this point we're so far behind the curve. We really are. Look, Trump gave finally a major foreign policy speech the other day, where he talked about what we've been talking about. He talked about Iran, Egypt, Libya, the mistakes the Obama administration's made. He also talked about countries that we are providing defense for, and said that these countries have to start paying for it themselves. One thing I also thought was interesting in the speech is he said that that we're not bound to be adversaries with Germany and Russia, which makes sense.
Right.
It does. Look, if Russia was, and Russia has messed with us a little bit in terms of our ships and stuff like that and what we're doing in Syria, and while if they're doing stuff like that to our ships and flying within 30 feet or 30 yards or whatever, and the captain needs to fire and take action to protect his ship and crew, then hey, I get that, right? That's what needs to happen, and maybe Putin needs that. He looks like he certainly needed it in Turkey because he's not messing around anymore. But I don't necessarily disagree with Trump that we're not bound to be adversaries. I mean, if Russia continues messing with us, then yeah, or NATO allies, maybe. But he certainly called into question the fact that we're paying for our defense and nation building. He said we're out of the nation building business. Okay. Look, I can be on board with that. Why are we going to expend all of our resources and everything else? Look, it hasn't done us any good so far.
At all.
Right? We still have the rise of ISIS and the vacuum and everything else. If we're going to do it, we need to do it right, and that's very expensive. Look, if a country goes to war with us, we fight to win that war.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you look at World War II, and we bombed factories that were in cities and civilian populations. Not to kill
win.
Yeah, not to kill the civilians, but because we went to win. If we're fighting ISIS and they're hiding in mosques, well, we're not the ones hiding in mosques.
You kick them out of your mosque.
Yeah, kick them out of your mosque, or we're going to level it because that's where the enemy is.
Right.
It's not out of disrespect to your religion. It's to save American lives. Yeah. So Trump's foreign policy, I thought, was interesting. I think he had some good points. There's some things that I really kind of have to chew on because I can see both sides of which way that's going to go. Like, a NATO country paying for its own defense. I certainly see that perspective. I also see the perspective where some of those countries may not be able to pay for their own defense to the extent that they would need to.
Right.
In which case, as a NATO ally with the expansion of Russia and
do
Europe,
we create another vacuum?
Right, exactly. And that's kind of my point with this, right? So we might have to supplement some of that. Are we going to pay for defense of that country 100%? No, nor should we. But might we have to fill a void because of the seemingly expansionist policies of Putin? Well, yeah, we might.
We might have to step up.
But I thought it was interesting to kind of get in his head on foreign policy, and I've said this before regarding Trump. I think he is a brilliant businessman. I think economically he would do great things for our country. I think from a foreign policy standpoint, I don't know what to expect from him. I don't have a lot of confidence in that arena. I wish that he would surround himself with foreign policy geniuses, shrewd foreign policy makers and negotiators that really understand foreign policy and the ins and outs and the politics of it and really heed their advice. I don't know that he will. But that's kind of my thoughts on Trump in that speech and kind of with everything you were talking about in terms of globally with Russia and with everything happening in the Middle East.
Well, and
so I think from that standpoint, I think Cruz might be a better candidate right now out of the box. And with Fiorina as a running mate, it's kind of bringing her around full circle. She adds that business component also. So I think Trump would need a strong running mate to kind of shore up some of his deficiencies in the foreign policy arena.
Yeah.
Not the fee arena. I mean, I guess so.
Maybe.
We
Maybe.
don't know.
Anything's possible. But like I said, to have the administration come out and kind of tough talk Russia a little bit, North Korea a little bit, I think is a little bit of show and tell, or you know what I mean? Like, hey, we're just going to tell them, you got to stop this crap, blah, 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 blah. The real...
And what we do, like fly a B-52 into South Korea, and that was a few weeks ago, remember? We talked about it on the show.
The reality is, though, the proof is in the pudding. We're not really...
Proof is in the pudding.
In the Putin. Yeah, we've run some exercise with South Korea, but we've been doing that for years. It's only now that we're really starting to amp up in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
The president who swore he was going to take out the missile defense in Poland, all of a sudden they're starting to show up again. We all of a sudden have more attack aircraft in Eastern Europe and Europe in general than we've had since the Cold War. Armor on the ground. Armor.
Being upgraded.
We're currently testing the Israeli defense against RPGs, the system that they have, which is a brilliant system. If you haven't seen it, Google it. It's amazing, and our troops need to get that. But that's coming as well. It all comes back to Russia. And you look at how many other countries Russia's instigating in. If you take care of Russia, the instigation stops. You cut the head off the snake.
So you're advocating going to war with Russia?
I'm advocating putting Russia in their place. If that means that at some point we may have to.
You realize that was going to be a long, protracted war. That's not going to be a quick war.
I understand that. But I hate to say it, it's getting to that point now.
Where you think we would need to go to war with Russia?
If they cannot stop agitating, you look at Iran, right? The nuclear deal with Iran. Now they're offering the defense. You know they're going to be in there offering them nuclear smarts. You look at all of their defense system, Russian. China, everything comes from Russia design.
Look, I get that, but who are we to tell another country that they can or cannot do business with another country?
They can do business when they're not in there agitating and trying to spread their influence. I go back to Crimea.
But they're going to be
back
split.
to Syria.
Look, we spread our influence too. Now, but I agree with you. Now, once you're going into Georgia, once you're going into Crimea, once you're going to the Ukraine, the different story.
That's where I think.
But
the
he's
problem
not going
is.
into NATO countries
yet.
But when he does, I'm on board with you.
Yeah.
But until that point, we got to firm up,
I think
draw up, and
right.
handle it when
Don't
we
get
get
me wrong.
messed
You
with,
have
right?
to go the democratic route until it completely fails. But you need to ramp up the energy a lot. And I think you're seeing the administration. This administration is actually starting to do that.
What that basically means is if this were Reagan,
we already would have bombed the shit out of him. And I'd still be okay with it. No, but it shows you where the real threat is right now. And it shows you where we as a nation should be looking at for the next president.
Do you think that
Hillary hit the reset button with Putin?
Do you think this draw up for Putin is being done to take focus away from ISIS and the terror attacks we've had in our country and to kind of change that conversation?
No,
you don't think so?
I don't. I think that he is status quo with that. I don't think he's ever going to do anything different. He doesn't want to be the guy to go into the Muslim countries and kill people. We can argue as to
then
what
our people are going to die.
Yeah. We can argue as to what his reasoning is for that on a different show. But when it comes to the greater global threat, he deems Russia, and I can't necessarily say I disagree with him. ICE is a tremendously horrible threat that should have never created. It should have never been created. We should have put Syria in their place a long time ago, and we said we were going to. Like we said, you can't go out and say red line and not do anything.
As soon as we didn't, Russia was like,
void.
Look.
Void. There's another void for us to fill.
Yep.
Get in there ASAP.
Yeah. You know what? They're like a college kid.
Yes.
At a sorority house.
Yes.
There's another void I need to fill.
Exactly. And they'll keep filling voids until all the sororities filled.
Yes.
That's it.
I know. That's it in a nutshell. No pun intended.
I think that this president fully intends to kick ISIS down to the next president and not do anything. However, I think the international risk of Russia is so great that even his advisors, who are very leftist military people now, are saying you can't ignore this.
I think, and the president clearly won't deal with ISIS, and he barely deals with ISIL.
And he talks about ISIL
And he talks
more.
about ISIL all the time.
Right,
yeah.
but he doesn't do a lot against ISIL.
Does nothing against ISIS. Very little against ISIL.
I've actually never even heard him acknowledge ISIS.
Never. ISIS
the
might not even exist.
It's the weirdest thing. Maybe we're crazy.
I think.
Maybe we're friggin' nuts. ISIS is imaginary.
Right.
Wouldn't you love to see, it's not Ernest, whatever that jackass is now. No, it is Ernest. Yeah, I'd like to point out that ISIS doesn't exist. So all the conservative media that keeps calling it ISIS, imaginary. They're all lunatics.
Right, it's just in their head.
They keep talking about this
It's in
like
their
head. There's no such thing as ISIS.
We have no. It's kind of like, so if I had $200 in this hand.
And what's
What?
over there?
Ouch! I'm robbing
see
you.
it.
Here, 1, 2, nice and crisp.
I'm robbing you. Gilbert Gottfried, Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yes. No, my wife drives that car.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant movie.
I got a buddy. I quoted this to him, and I don't even remember the context. We were down in out of state, Southern California, and out of state, and I quoted, "Get your mad ass in this pool," to him. Brilliant line when Eddie Murphy's in the pool and Taggart and Rosewood come in. Axel, you've stolen this house. How the heck do you steal a house? Get out of the pool now. Get your mad ass in this pool.
Get your mad ass in this pool. He knocks you in the pool and he go get something out of the closet. Comes out that horrible golf suit.
Axel, you've stolen this house.
There's a great article posted today in High Plains Punt with the Texas Convention coming up in middle of May, and then we've had everything with North Carolina and all the bathroom gates, if you will, or lack of gates, actually. If you go to High Plains Pundit, there's an article titled "Bathroom Law Battle Begins to Take Hold in Texas." It highlights how Texas is going to be the next battleground for transgender bathrooms, just in time for the convention down there. And Dan Butcher, who talked to me about this 2 months ago that it was coming to Texas specifically, called it. And, it's a good article by Patrick Zvitek, who writes for High Plains Pundit. So make sure you check that out, sir. It's been a great show. Thank you so much for finally joining us.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was nice of you to get off your ass and come on into the studio.
Yeah, I almost didn't. But,
make sure you check us out every Wednesday night here on the Sackheads Radio Show on the SHR Media Network every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. Follow me at Edge of Liberty on Twitter. Clint is at Sackhead Clint. Make sure you check us out at Sackheads for the radio show Twitter page. We are on Facebook, Google+, and just about every other social media tentacle.
What word is that?
Tentacle.
Oh.
He put his tentacles all over me. His what? His testicles. How you say octopus? Tentacle. Big difference. What movie was that from? You'll have the answer to that next week, folks. Thank you so much for Sackhead Clint. This is Sackhead Sean. Have a good week.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work there too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
The best.
this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.